Hello guys, another Commander Tips video here. This was, as always, voted on by my patrons. Go check that out. The link will be in the description below. You can check out my Patreon if you want to do the same thing. Scorpion God is a pretty interesting commander option that not a lot of people talk about, mostly because it's not overwhelmingly powerful. Like the Locust God, the Scarab God, they kind of do things that draw a lot more attention, while this guy is a little bit more tame. He's 5 mana in Rakdos colors for a 6/5 legendary god. Whenever a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you draw a card, and an activated ability of 3 mana put a -1/-1 counter on another target creature. He has the same ability as the other two gods from Hour of Devastation. When he dies, you return him to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step, making him a pain to deal with. You have to exile, or else you're just going to be able to recast him for 5 mana. Pretty much don't have to worry about the commander tax. But drawing a card off of creatures dying with -1/-1 counters, it could be abused, but it's nothing ridiculous like getting a bunch of hasty tokens off of a windfall, or getting to exile creatures, make tokens of them, and have a pretty crazy upkeep where you can just sap some life from your opponents, like the Scarab God. The Scarab God is pretty damn good as a zombie commander. The Scorpion God, though, what you really want to do is focus on the whole strategy of Wither, because it is a keyword that doesn't really get a lot of love, especially considering -1/-1 counters are usually associated with Infect, and we can only assume why we haven't seen too much Infect in a long time, and it's probably because people don't like it. Well, Wither, unfortunately, by association, is also going to be neglected to a degree. But it's not as bad. It's not even close to being as bad as Infect. All it really does is make it to where creatures deal damage in the form of -1/-1 counters to other creatures. Doesn't have anything to do with poison counters or anything like that. Really simple, but it can be very deadly if you have a way to manipulate -1/-1 counters. And being able to draw cards when those creatures die is a pretty decent engine. We don't have too much card draw in Rakdos to abuse like that, so the Scorpion God sets himself up pretty well. Now, there are a lot of cards that focus on -1/-1 counters that don't necessarily have Wither, but for the sake of this video, Everlasting Torment is an enchantment that's been around for a while with the Wither mechanic, and it's going to really impact a commander game. Players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented. Perfect, because we want damage to go through so that we can get -1/-1 counters on our opponent's creatures. We get to draw those cards. Outside of that, though, there are some awesome enchantments like Crumbling Ashes, Blowfly Infestation, and Nest of Scarabs. Crumbling Ashes is going to allow you to draw a card by destroying a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it. Blowfly Infestation is a pretty good engine with the Scorpion God, because you get to take a -1/-1 counter, put it on another creature when a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it dies. So you're always going to find a creature. Hopefully there's a creature on the board. Doesn't have to be your opponent's. Put another -1/-1 counter on a creature. Have more potential for card draw. That's fantastic. And Nest of Scarabs is going to give us some tokens, which is never really a bad thing. We have ways of putting -1/-1 counters on a lot of different creatures, and getting a lot of tokens is pretty decent. If you really want to put a bunch of -1/-1 counters onto your opponent's creatures, we have cards like Black Sun Zenith, Contagion Engine, and Midnight Banshee, as well as Archfiend of Ifnir. These all have the potential of putting -1/-1 counters on all of our opponent's creatures and potentially killing them. And if you have other ways to proliferate, something like a Contagion Clasp to go with the Contagion Engine, that is also going to work out pretty well with the deck, getting you more -1/-1 counters, potentially acting as removal or a board wipe. One of my favorite cards that you can put in this kind of deck is Mikaeus the Unhallowed, because Undying works out brilliantly with Wither or any -1/-1 counter synergy, because they're always going to come back with Mikaeus. They're likely going to have more -1/-1 counters on them than +1/+1 counters, so they're likely never going to really have a +1/+1 counter, since whenever you have a -1/-1 counter as well, those are going to cancel out as a state-based action, and it will just have the -1/-1 counters left over. So you can always bring those creatures back, kill them off, draw more cards. Mikaeus is just brilliant like that. And I don't want you to think that Infect isn't the way to go. You could also go that route, play things like Skithiryx. It just isn't really necessary when you have so much synergy with -1/-1 counters alone. The only reason why you would want to play Infect is so that you can get -1/-1 counters on your opponent's creatures when those creatures deal combat damage to them. So that is an option if you want to go that route. But for the most part, I would prefer to stick with basic -1/-1 counter synergies, seeing as that, instead of dealing the 10 infect necessary, is the primary goal of the deck. drawing a bunch of cards, getting more synergies out there. Our creatures are a lot better with -1/-1 counters on them. They do a lot cooler things. So that should be the focus of the deck. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy the Scorpion God. He is pretty badass. Very underrated Rakdos colored commander. He has a lot of potential, and especially if they ever consider bringing back Wither or anything similar to it. Probably not Infect anytime soon, but that would be really sweet. You guys have a wonderful day. See you all next video.